Combined well until evening last night, finishing up the oats. And just a little bit of rain last night, which just freshened up the air and has given that beautiful smell. One of my most favorite smells is that smell of fall. It smells absolutely terrific. We are definitely in the fall season. Everything is acting like it, everything is smelling like it. You know, our work is in a sense kind of rolling to an end. Well, we're finished our canola, wheat, oats, and we're waiting on the silage to dry down, and corn and sunflowers, so we have a lot ahead of us yet. Cattle are being weaned, brought into the yard, so that sound of weaned calves, and then, well, that workload starts. And these bees are pretty much drifted to an end here. I'm poking down into the colonies, and there isn't any. The queen is still laying just a little bit, but those bees aren't taking any of those eggs to the larval state. And I'm seeing 2-3 frames of brood about to emerge within the next 7 to 10 days. So there is quite the spread between the eggs that I'm seeing in there and the capped brood. So she's done. We're done. There's no more brood. These winter nests are set up and they are drifting themselves into the winter season. So as that brood emerges, I've been backfilling the nest. You know, as the brood emerges, they're not using that space anymore. So I use that space by filling it up with syrup, and that allows me to get enough winter stores into these single boxes to be able to get them through these 5 months of winter. Hopefully it's only 5 months. I've been feeding these colonies a little bit through the hive top feeders like this. These are gallon feeder pails because this yard I'm also feeding through the totes, the open feed, just to drop a bunch of syrup into them. It takes about 3 days to get these colonies up to weight. And colonies that are around the edges I've been feeding with the 2.5 gallon pails, so they're not quite done them yet. But it doesn't take them long to suck down that pail either, so imagine we'll make a round after we're done extracting. We're going to run the honey house tomorrow and Tuesday. So probably Wednesday we'll go around and just kind of shift pails and finish things up. I have 8 to 10 yards yet to bulk feed through open feed, so I've been going around to these yards. They've finished up their feeders, so I'm taking these feeders and shifting them. I have 8 yards around Miami, then a couple nuke yards I wanted to drop some syrup into through the totes, so I'll get that fed today, and they should be finished up by Wednesday, Thursday. And that pretty much bulks these colonies up for the season. Puts me right on target. I want to get these colonies fed up. I want them to have this syrup prepared and cured before October. So October has been tough on us for the last few years anyway. And I've been just as per routine now, it's you get everything fed up before October so we don't get caught with light colonies or colonies going into winter with uncured syrup. And it looks like I'm going to be able to meet that deadline. If we do get a nice October, like a nice drawn out fall, which would be a treat, then we'll just kind of monitor and maintain these colonies until we start moving them in the beginning of November. Let's just see what's going on in some of these. Still on that syrup pail, these are a gallon, US gallon, which is telling me that they're starting to fill right up. Still on them a little bit, which is good. That's kind of what I'm expecting here. These bees, oop, bugger off bee. These bees are, it's kind of neat. I'm not really too concerned. It's been a windy fall, and I haven't had any of these pails blow off yet. The bees tend to be gluing the pails down. with propolis. They're not really gluing much of the screen up though, but just enough to hold these pails so the rodents can't just tap them off, or the wind can't just blow them off. So that's been very handy. Very well organized. I like to bugger off. Ouch. They're just telling me to piss right off. A little bit cooler, it's about 8 degrees. Ah. Let's tip a few colonies back just to see what's going on. But I'm going to use my veil for that. And gloves. So I don't feel like getting tagged anymore. I haven't gone into the colonies a lot this fall. Typically I leave them alone. Once they get the okay to go into winter, I don't go down into them unless I see a flag on top of the colony where I go down and inspect to see what's going on. So I haven't been going down a lot, except for my mite monitoring. I pick random colonies. I get a good sample of bees to wash mites. And when I'm doing that, I get a good look to see what's going on within the nest, to see how things are progressing, and just generally how the hives are, you know, acting as the apiary. You look at a few colonies within a few yards, right across your apiary, you get a really good sense on exactly what's going on. And that's important to know what's going on, to be able to see those shifts, and just to help us prepare and manage these colonies a little better, just keeps us in tune. So I find it really hard this time of year to get down into there, to actually see what's going on instead of just, you know, assuming what's going on. But when I force myself to go and wash for mites, just to make sure I don't get caught with surprises, just to make sure I know what's going on with my disease levels, it forces me down into there, and it forces me to observe what's going on. A lot of time I'll take a sample just from the bottom of the frames, just scoop some up there. But a lot of the time I'll actually go in and take a sample right off the frame. So I get a real good representation of what's going on. I'll just pick a random colony here to tip back. Hard to do with one hand. These guys have a lot of syrup left in that pail, so they'll be full. They are glued down. I have a feeling they're not going to appreciate this. If I had smoke with me, that'd be a little better, just to say, hey guys, come on. These guys are heavy, and a box of bees. Well prepared. It's a wonder they're not finished the pail of syrup. Looks like they've gathered everything they need. So that colony is definitely prepared for winter. I'll probably shift this pail next round to another colony, because they won't need any more winter feed. These guys are on the screen still. Oh, it's hard to do this with one hand. I don't have my tripod with me either. Nice box of bees. Beautiful. Colony nice and heavy. That is nice. It's kind of what I want to see this time of year. Well put together, lots of population, heavy. Means they've been working. One more random colony. What should I do? Let's see what this one looks like. This one is this queen's, this says 2014. But that's not a 2014 queen. That colony's probably replaced her the last, maybe once, probably twice. I bet you twice. Let's just see if whatever's going on is there. They're on the screen. See, that's a really good sign when they're consuming. You look for all those little cues, Right, so that's one good sign. Let's see what we've got here. In that, as I crack the box, just that little healthy buzz, that's another little cue, just a little cue. And they're heavy, that's good. Let's see here. That is, I would say, a box of bees. Nice and calm. Covering the bottoms of the frames masterfully. It's a big cluster. So these guys are heavy. They're going to be going into winter exactly the way I want to see them. Big and heavy, calm, content, organized. So that's at 2014. That's what I want. I want my colonies to succeed themselves. So I bet you that 14 was replaced, if not another time, without any intervention whatsoever from me. I was talking to another beekeeper about my strategy. What I do doesn't necessarily suit everybody's requirements. I'm in a sense what you call a stationary beekeeper. Like I do move my bees into yards, and I move them into a wintering shed, and I move them back out. But I'm not moving my hives long distances like some of these migratory type beekeepers. I'm in a sense more stationary. I have my apiary set. We have a lot of land here. We have neighbors. I have an apiary established here, and these yards are pretty much the yards that these colonies live and maintain themselves in until I bring them inside. So when I go around and when I start moving my hives around, it's generally during a time where these colonies are set, prepared, just kind of established. Whenever there's, as we go through the seasons and these colonies start to grow and develop, in the honey production season they start to produce, and then they drift into fall, they all sit here. They don't move from their space. So when these colonies decide, hey, this queen, let's get rid of her, put a new one in there, they supersede. That colony is not being disturbed whatsoever. So that act of succession, that act of replacement, it can happen a lot more fluidly here. If I was moving my colonies a lot, and especially during a time of when these colonies are active, then that interruption would totally screw up their queen replacement, and that colony ultimately dies. So there's different strategies with different beekeepers. So my strategy is I want to be more hands-off with the succession of that nest, the continuation of the colony itself. I want them to look after that. I want to promote that. That's what works for me in my apiary. It works very well. Look at the boxes of bees I was tipping back there. I mean, a successful colony generally is reared by a young queen. And I'm expecting these, and what I'm observing is there's lots of queen replacements going at all times. But beekeepers that need to move their hives to be able to extract that pollination revenue, or just chasing flows and such, they have to make for damn sure that that queen that's in that box is going to stay in that box, because when they move it, they need that nest to be active in their development, in their maintenance and such. They don't want them into that replacement stage. There's more of a sense of a need to requeen, to freshen up the nest, so that they know that that colony has a young queen, and the chances of supersedure in that nest is a lot smaller than perhaps in mine. So just different strategies, right? I'm not saying that mine's right. I'm not saying that theirs is right. There is no right answer. It's just whatever works for you within your apiary, and whatever requirements you're trying to target. to maximize that revenue and manage that workload and all these dynamics that we're dealing with as we beekeep throughout the year. So as the old man always says, you know, if it works, run with it.